I have the pleasure this evening to introduce one of our illustrious past district governors, and many of them are wonderful, wonderful people and accomplished so much during their term. And Sandy Duckworth is certainly one of them right at the top. And there are many things I love about Sandy, but one of the particular things is she is a lifelong learner and really looks at wanting to develop people. So that is why she is your advisor as AGs. We will have a reporting structure that you report specifically to me, but you will always copy Sheila and Renee because the three of us work as a real team. So without further delay, Sandy, past District Governor Sandy, please take it away.
Thank you, Pat. I kept looking around wondering who you were talking about. Okay, so, all right. So do I just hit share screen now? Rich?
Yes, yes.
You guys have to understand, this is me learning. I already knew how, didn't I, Deb?
Sure did.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Okie dokie. The reason that I did this, guys, is because this is going to be on the website, and this is what Pat put together, which I think is really cool. And so I put it as a lead off. And then, hey, Deb, how about read this for me?
Sure. All right. Rotary, serve to change lives. Serve to change lives highlights the central motivation of Rotarians to make a difference through their service. On the 1st of July of every year, Rotary effects a change of leadership within all 34,000 clubs worldwide, within all the districts, and at the international level.
That, my people, is why things can be confusing.
My
And here
goodness.
are the assistant governors that we have. And I would like to point out that somebody has a harem. So
I'm a real lucky guy.
so there you are. But these are the leaders. You all are the ones that will be working with Pat and with the clubs. The first thing that we have are the responsibilities, and we've broken them out this way. We're going to be identifying the district level responsibilities, and there are quite a few. Identifying the club responsibilities, and there are many. And then understanding your role and what it is and the importance of that role. And you will see over here, the Lead Your District Assistant Governor. I have that document for you. And it is about 3 years old, but it has some really good information in it right at your fingertips, which I like. And the reason I like it is because you can find the same thing at Rotary Club Central, but you have to go to the Learning Center. And sometimes you can't get there, or sometimes it doesn't work, or you can't find what you want. And this is really, really a super document. I even have the table of contents here, but anyway, I'll send this to you. But I think you'll find that it's a big help. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the district level responsibilities. And does anybody want to say right off the top what you think the most important responsibility is?
Keeping in touch with your club members.
Yes. What else?
Establishing membership goals for each of your clubs.
Yes. More important than any of this. Working with your governor. You will be coordinating the governor's visits. The governor doesn't visit without working it through you. And generally, the governor will try, they have to make a formal visit, as you know, but they will try to get back more than once. And each time they will work through you, and you will work with the club president to set everything up. Then communicating the club strengths, weaknesses, And there is, these asterisks here mean that there is a document for you. There is a progress report, a quarterly report that lists these items that the governor would like to have from you. Very easy form to work with. And then, of course, you're going to work with your AFA and your AMC. And when you go to club meetings, you should go once a quarter minimum, but you may have to go more than that. You may want to go more than that. You may be invited to go more than that. And now with the Zoom meetings, it's easier. You don't have to travel so far. But you might want to invite these two specifically to go with you. So that's up to you and how you work with the club president. And then attending district meetings, all the district events, it is your job to take the governor's message to the clubs to ensure that they know what's happening. They are encouraged strongly to attend each one of these events according to what they are, whether it's virtual or when we can be back together in person. You are working with the district committee chairs. Again, you're a team, and those committee chairs are there to work with your clubs to help your clubs be the best. So when you have problems on any specific subject, find out or check, see who's in charge of that particular area. If there is a committee and if there is, work with them. They'll be a big resource for you and for the club. And then we've already talked about the district events and particularly the training. Sometimes it's very difficult to get the club representative to attend these trainings, but it's extremely important that they do so. These trainings are not for the presenters, they're for the attendees. And remind people that they always take something away. Doesn't matter what it is, even if it's a new friend, but you take something away. And then you always want to be on the lookout for future leaders, whether it's an AFA or an AG or a future governor. All training starts very early, as you know from your club experience, and now that you're an AG. And then you always want to brief any incoming governors or AFAs or anything that you can. The next thing you have is your club responsibilities. And no two clubs are the same. Every club is different. Every club has its own personality. How many times, maybe even one of you, maybe your club, where you go in when you can meet in person and you try to sit at a table and they say, oh no, that's Fred's seat. Or no, nope, that's Sarah's seat. You can't sit there. Well, no, we don't do that, no. And so you want to encourage them to be flexible. You know that they each have their own personality, and you can never, you've been a president, you know, you do not want anybody coming in and preaching to you. You want them to be there to help you, to advise you, to support you, so that you, as the president, have your best year. And so that's what you want to do, is to work with them and try to help with the personality that they have. So your first thing is that you're a resource, and you check with them quarterly. You help them develop their goals. And again, when you see the asterisks, I have something for you. You monitor the progress, beginning with the planning guide for effective Rotary clubs. And that's an important document. That really helps the clubs find out who they are. It helps you know who they are, and it helps find out where there are big gaps and how you can help them close those gaps. Obviously, you help with the district governor's visit and getting ready for that. And there are strict guidelines for that. And I have those for you as well. Attending club meetings and events. You don't always have to wait until you're invited. You guys know that. Sometimes it's really nice if your AG just checks in and says, hey, Madam President or Mr. President or Club President or whatever, I'm going to be over your way, or I'd like to attend your Zoom meeting. It looks like you're having a great speaker. Just anything like that, and it's good. It's the more that you can do that, the better it is to work with these clubs. And anytime the governor has a request, the governor can and will generally go through you, but not always. Sometimes the governor will want to go straight to the club president. But if that happens, the governor will let you know that that is what she is doing and that she will need you to help and follow up. So you have to help with whatever the governor needs. International requests, goals and objectives, whatever. And then obviously promoting meeting attendance, which we've talked about. And hopefully the ability to have something beginning this summer and starting into next fall. Hopefully we'll be able to begin to get together a little bit. And this is what's so important. You are the key. You are absolutely the key. You are what can assist an excellent club to be better. You can assist a club that's not doing very well to do better. So it's extremely important. In any information, interestingly enough, this says provide information about RI with the message from the governor and district resources. Okay, when you go in your quarterly meeting, I suggest, it's just a suggestion, that you get out one of your most current Rotary magazines, look at the president's message, pull out a couple of things and bring that message to the clubs and say, this message is from your RI president to you. And then you'll also have something specific from the governor. This is our governor's message to you. And then always compliment. Start by complimenting. And you have to do some research. You have to go into Rotary Club Central, but you have to find out a little something good about their giving, their support, what they're doing, their grants, how they are with the support of the foundation. And if you have your AFA or your AMC with you, be sure they're introduced and be sure that they have time to say something if the president has given you enough time. So anyway, then you work with the clubs about their goals and to provide feedback to the DG. The DG needs to know in those quarterly reports how the clubs are doing, and you work with the governor to point out any of the clubs that are in trouble, that seem to be having difficulty, and then together you work out a plan so that the club doesn't feel like they're really bad. They're just feel that they're having assistance if they would like it, and how you can work that out. Always suggesting practical solutions, and there are a lot of them. And again, I'll be giving you a lot of that. So anyway, am I doing that great that you guys don't have any questions, or am I just talking too much?
No, I think it's very clear. They're going to have questions once you finish.
The goal setting, this you're all familiar with, but the Rotary Club health check is extremely important. And this, for the members to take this, it gives them an overview of what they look like as a club and how they could possibly change. And one of the suggestions that you might want to consider working with the club on and suggest, when the club does this club check early in the year, once they get through this, put together a committee to work on some of the changes and the modifications, and work with them if they want you to do that. Bring in the district committee chairs to help with them too. That's what they're there for. That to me is really something important, and how in this area we can be the most help, I think. And this says, you know, and obviously you want to be flexible. There are a lot of new ideas now that Rotary International is allowing us to do. Some clubs don't mind and are anxious to be flexible. Some are not going to change. It doesn't matter. So we go with the flow. Um, they need an action plan, but they first have to have a long range plan. It's very difficult to do an action plan if you don't know what your overall long-term goals are. Again, you all know that. You're past presidents, you've been through that. Um, there is an important and necessary thing that we need to do, and that is to get those goals into Rotary Club Central by July 1. And there is a form for that as well, that you can have it right in front of you. And if you have it in front of you, you can send that to the governor. The governor can have it right in front of her so that she doesn't have to go into Rotary Club Central and try to pull this down for 50 clubs.
Did I turn the camera on?
Hello.
Sorry about that, Sandy.
No, it's no problem. Listen, you're the one that has the harem, so that's fine. Encourage club presidents to keep their goals and progress up to date. And obviously that's extremely important, and not necessarily easy to do. This is just a plan together to track goals and so forth. And why should, it's just tells them why. I don't know if they've even seen this document. A lot of these things that I have for you all, some club presidents may not have seen, it may have been in their lead the club, but they don't necessarily review it. Some don't. So anyway, that's just something important. And then supporting clubs, it's really, really important to have the resource for your clubs to understand what each club needs. What do they need? What are their strengths? How can you help best with each club? And in order to do that, you have to have a real picture of the club. And how do you get that picture? If you can't physically visit, which you can't right now, you get it through Zoom, but you also get it through the forms and that they complete and the questions that they answer for you, and the feeling. A lot of this is just feeling that you have in working with these clubs. So you always want to be available. You want to be easy to get with. Work out a way that they can, when you see something from them, that you can respond right away. I know you're very, very busy. It's not always easy, but work something so that you can respond as quickly as possible. And of course, always, bless their hearts, you want to give special care to the weaker clubs. They know they're weak. They know they're having difficulty. And they would really appreciate any help that you can give, any ideas that you have. And so always connecting with these struggling clubs, not that you don't work with all of your clubs, but your weaker clubs, your struggling clubs, if you have any, are the ones that are going to take probably a lot of your time. And then of course, always monitor their progress and keep the governor informed. You probably have all of these, and I know you've seen the Be a Vibrant Club, the club leadership plan, and I know that you've seen the RI plan, but these are really important. And I've got a whole bunch of Rotary resources for you, but they're all live links. So I'm giving you live links that you just click. You don't have to go into Rotary, my Rotary, and try to find them. And I think that should help you a lot too. And as you work with them to set their long-term goals and their short plans. Oh, and you always, they have to have club assemblies, of course. They're required or strongly encouraged to have one every quarter. Some clubs have them every month. Some clubs only have them once a quarter. But when possible, if you can be there, that would be great. But again, you have to be invited or you have to ask permission. It's always best that way. They know you're coming, and be certain that they introduce you as the assistant governor. You are very important. And that you're there to help them. Bylaws. I don't know if you know this, but the bylaws can be modified. They are the only document, the constitutional documents that can be modified. The Constitution cannot. The club constitution cannot be modified. It can only be modified by the Council on Legislation, and that meets every 3 years. The other documents are available to the Code of Policies is another document that is available. The board meets every quarter, and after their meeting, they have the Code of Policies that are brought up to date. And Pat has already provided you with the latest copy, but I have that also for you in the package that I'm going to be providing for you. The governance documents, the manual of procedure, and the manual of procedure has gotten very, very small. It used to be a lot bigger and have a lot more in there. Now it's very small, but you get much more information in the lead your club from the president and lead your district from the governor, and also in the manual of in the Code of Policies. The constitutional documents, Rotary International's constitution, obviously, these constitutional documents, every single one of them are in the manual of procedure. The recommended club bylaws we've already talked about, and the foundation Code of Policies. So there's a Rotary International Code of Policies on their quarterly meetings, and there's a foundation Code of Policies on their quarterly meetings. So there's a lot of documents and a lot of stuff, not all of which you're going to want to read, but you just need to be familiar with those. And then as a quick review, we've talked really quickly about the responsibilities that you all have, which are a lot. We've talked about those at the district level, those at the club level, key duties that you have. And so, you know, there's so much that I've just stood back here and thrown at you. But if there's any one thing that you found important, or something you didn't know, or something you would like to know more about, or anything, if you would please let me know. You all have been so quiet. I feel like I feel terrible because I'm not used to that. I'm used to everybody participating, and I'm used to facilitating. So this is making me feel terrible.
Oh, no.
I think everyone is just soaking in your knowledge. I know
That's
I've been
right.
taking notes this whole time. I'm writing down every word you're saying.
Well, you don't have to
So-
do that. I have it for you. I have everything for all of you. But aren't there questions? You mean I was that good? Come on, guys, I'm not that good.
Will you be sending out this deck
Yep.
for us for reference? Perfect.
Yes, and all of the material that you'll be getting from Sandy or me or whoever, we are again loading that into your resource area on the website. So you will have the resource that was provided to the pre-pets program, the CPETS program, and your own resources.
And these will be there all year long, so you can go back and refer to them. So unless it's something that you know you're going to need on a constant basis, you don't have to waste space on your computer by downloading it. It just stays on the website. You can refer to it whenever you want it.
Right.
Well, and there are some documents. There are a couple of old documents that I like. And again, they're forms. And I didn't check with Pat to see if this was okay, but one is for the clubs for you to fill out prior to July the 1st. And it tells about the clubs now, and it's kind of like the health check, except it's a little bit more in depth. And then there's another form, which I really like, And again, it's an old form that they don't use much anymore, but it's one that you would complete and give to the incoming governor, so that it's
Oh, like a
completed at
turnover?
the end of your Rotary year on your club specific, and it goes to the incoming governor along with all of your other reports that you have given to the current governor, so that the incoming governor has all of the updated current information on how this club has improved over the year. And probably once we can begin to go to meetings physically or Zoom, I know that Renee and Sheila have been attending with Pat when they, when you all go places. And there should be, let's see, what is it? We've got, what, 2 more quarters, 1 more quarter, 1 more quarter. Oh dear. Well, anyway,
3 more months, yeah.
yeah, time flies when you're having fun. But I would suggest that you, if you can, that you meet your club president as on a formal visit between now and then, if you haven't already. So
Right, your incoming president-elects. Are there some more questions for Sandy or myself? And
This is Deb, Pat, and Sandy. I
Sure.
do have a question. It's about the SWOT analysis. And maybe you could just speak a little bit more about it, or any of the other AGs who are currently in that role can speak to it. Is that something you work with the club president and their boards, or they work on that themselves and then you walk through with their findings with them? I just was trying to understand,
Right,
how
right.
is that done?
Well, if I can just say, we did discuss this a little bit with the president-elects, and we gave them the SWOT analysis because I wanted them to do that themselves to see what answers they had. And then to really do it in a more formal context with their board or the club, and not before they have pulled some demographic and community information so that they can see whether their opinions are really accurate. Jonathan will be doing a membership number 3 program in, I think, April. And with other people from the membership committee. And we will be sharing with them a county or a city demographic of their community from 2000, and then one that's from 2020, to have them see the difference in their communities. A lot of people still make presumptions predicated upon what their experience was, and I understand that, but they have to, remember, we do that community assessment. You've got to update that knowledge. And additionally, we will have Teresa Ellis on the membership committee, who is going to be working with you. You would contact Teresa in terms of doing SWOT analysis and doing a strategic plan, and she will work with you and the clubs. Some of you may have a lot of experience with a SWOT and a strategic planning process. Others of you may not necessarily have had that. And there is a difference between doing it for a corporate environment versus doing it for genuinely a service community environment. So those are some of the differences that we can help you with.
Okay. So, but my question was just the role of the AG in that is because I know you did discuss this with the president-elects.
Right, and the AG, first of all, you're to, the club, you either see a club needs this, or a club is saying, we don't know what's wrong, etc. And so then you can start talking to them about that process. And I would start with your club president, which right now is your president-elect.
Mhm.
And when you're talking to them, you do need to tease out what information are they basing their answers on.
Okay.
And then proceed from there. Sometimes people need to have that first run by themselves to understand it. And that would be a conversation with you as the AG. Again, you can certainly contact Teresa to help you or work with you and the club. That's up to you to decide.
Okay.
One thing too that I have for you all is from Rotary International, and it's Rotary Resources. And these, as I said, are all live links, and it's how to go about engaging your current members, what to do and how you work with prospective members. I'm telling you, it's pages long, but they're all live links, which is awesome.
Right.
And then following your membership leads, and then making new members feel welcome. And there are hints in every one of these with live leads and live links. And to me, there is nothing like having these kind of tools at your fingertips, and to be able to even share that with your clubs. And as we said, with,
Correct.
and Pat was saying, when you can go now to meet with your PEs. But if I might say, I don't think it would be untoward for you to call the current president and ask if you could just visit their club next week or whenever, just to stop in, and you just want to stop in and say hello, and let them introduce you in case that they don't know you, you haven't been to that club. And it's really very, very important that they do get to know you now. And then you could also meet later with your PE. So that's just my suggestion. Better they know you now than
Right.
by the first, here I am.
Sandy, would you recommend that, because AGs don't step down till June 30. So should we contact the current AG to make that introduction with them, not go directly to a club and ask to be introduced? I mean,
You can do that, or you can go directly. It's always nice not to knock the other person out of their job before they're gone, and say, I really would like to visit the club. Do you think, are you going to go between now and, next month or whatever? And I'd like to go with you. Or if you're not going, I thought I'd like to go if I can get the club's permission, the club president's permission to visit. I'd like to do that. And I just wanted to let you know, or however you want to work it, according to how well you know them, and who they are and how well you know them. And you're going to want, if you haven't already met with them, you are going to want to do that anyway to get their hints about the club.
Correct. And the current AGs are aware. So it's not like it would be a call coming out of the blue.
okay.
And, but just know that and the biggest thing is clubs don't have to solve all problems in 1 year. Okay. And one of the reasons that Sandy, and I want to underscore Sandy's suggestion of, being known to the president, and then you're going to be working with the president-elect, is that we are doing, as we do the D line, okay, which includes the district governor, etc. We're doing the P line at the club level, which is your immediate past, your current president, your president-elect. Because we do want to engender that kind of continuity planning, that kind of team approach, so that each one is supporting the other. And that's the way that Sandy's suggesting is a good approach to that. Do we have some other questions?
I have another suggestion. Talking about working together, and I think I just quickly mentioned this, but I think it's really, really, really important for you all to get all of your club presidents together as soon as you can. Right now they're PEs, but you're calling them your presidents. So get them together as quickly as you can and try to meet all of you together at least once a quarter or more often to share ideas and to work together on projects, club projects, on Rotary International projects, you know, partnerships in a lot of things, so that you can even have, we had one AG a few years ago that they had twice a year, they had a big party with with all of her clubs. She had 4. And they got together and had a big beer fest or something, you know. And those kind of things are fun because they are where people get to know each other, they talk, they have a good time. And then you have the meetings where you're working together to talk about what we're doing, how this is working. Well, I'm not having a good luck with trying this. Does anybody have any other ideas? And those are just, you can't even imagine how helpful that can be. And you can even pull in your AFAs if you want to have one of those to talk about the foundation, or your membership district chair or whatever. And the more that you do that and reach out to pull them together, the more comfortable they are in working together. They may already do that, but you will know which ones do and which ones don't. And so the more you can get them to work together, the easier your job will be too. So, and have fun. Got to have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, a good example on that, if I can say, is a place to start is have the clubs tell you when their big fundraisers are, and have them work together so that their fundraiser, the dates for their fundraisers are not conflicting with one another. And that way, each club can support the other when they've got their big fundraiser. And having them talk, once you get that, and Paula is good evidence of that in Area 9. And the wonderful meetings that she had during the pre-pets development, and getting those people, that area, to really start talking to one another. She had a good precedent that had started, but really Paula developed it and really flourished it. Now I'll tell you, we do have some other areas where and it's not so much the clubs as it can be sometimes when certain people are in office. And we have had a couple of areas where the clubs will not cooperate. They don't want to be in meetings with one another. And, you know, that can happen. But somehow you've got to keep pulling on that thread to find where is your little place to get in, to start the conversation, to change the dynamic in that area. And if you do that and you do have patience, it will change. And, you know, sharing that with us as the D line, knowing that we can say that to some of the other district people, you have then sort of an ensemble that can repeat your theme. And you can make progress.
Well, and you know, it's so un-Rotarian to not want to work together.
But it happens.
It does happen. These personalities, sometimes it's like, oh, good heavens, children.
Yeah, and that ends up being part of the AG responsibility is mediation, and that's fine. Yep. But if anybody's having trouble with that, that's another thing that we're here for, to help either give advice or, you know, help get involved if the situation is, you know, because we're all humans, we all have jobs, we all have other lives and family members, and everybody gets overcommitted or overwhelmed, and sometimes emotions you know, happen, and that's a natural thing, and it's totally okay. And if you're unprepared for that, that's expected. You don't have special training. You know, use your best judgment, but then reach out to the team at the district, and we're always ready to help and just be there in whatever capacity we can to help you get through getting the clubs straightened out.
Well, and with Pat's permission, I will just tell you guys, if there's ever anything that I can do to help you, to give you information, I've got files going back forever and ever. And some of the things that we've done in the past worked really well, and they haven't been used lately. And I didn't
Right.
want to totally drive you crazy, but I do have a full page of. of
It's okay.
documents.
It'll be in the, you give it to us, it's gonna be in the resource center.
I'm gonna
Oh,
put
yeah.
this in the resource library for you, but and if there's anything that you want to know how it would work or anything, I mean, I'm here for you. So,
This
and
is why you're their
quite honored.
advisor, Sandy.
I'd be quite honored to help. So,
Okay, well, let me have Renee go ahead and make have a discussion in terms of, this is the policies with regard to youth protection, to anti-harassment and DEI can be touchy, but nonetheless, they are really required. And clubs need to have affirmative policy statements. And Rotary expects that. The insurance program expects that. And quite frankly, the law expects that. So, and that sort of goes hand in glove with what Sandy mentioned earlier, and that is your Rotary Code of Practices and Policies. Because one of the issues is that too many of our clubs, although I think we're in a better position today, but we still have way too many clubs that have not touched those bylaws in 10, 15, and more years. And I can assure you that Rotary Code of Practice and Policy has changed, so they're not compliant with Rotary's requirements. And certainly the law and expectations surrounding service clubs and their special responsibilities in the community have changed. So clubs really need to understand that, and they need to see where they need to update these. So take it away, Renee.
Right, guys, hi. For those of you that might not know me, I'm Renee Laws. I am a lot of acronyms. It just means that in a few years, I'll be district governor. And so in the meantime, I'm here to as an AG, as well as part of this training team. And I have a small piece of the puzzle, and it's a piece that I'm familiar with because I've been in the past in this district, the diversity and inclusion chair. And I learned a lot about our district and RI and all the policies that surround. And I believe in my mind, the most recent language that came from the RI board in regards to their specific DEI policy, it's some of the most brilliant, straightforward, honest and true language I've seen in one of those kinds of documents. And it just made me really happy that it came from an organization that I'm a part of. So it solidified, to me, my choice to be a Rotarian. I was kind of like, yes, I made the right choice. So I think you guys will also agree. Rotary International does a really wonderful job of making sure that they cover the broad bases. But what we have a responsibility to do is make sure that the details are not lost when it gets down into the zone and then the district and then the club levels. And so as area governors, you have a really great opportunity to affect some change in the clubs in your areas that need it. And that's part of the first step, is to identify if you have any of your clubs in your area that need any kind of help that's visible from the outside, because that's a sure sign that there could be something internal going on, and they either aren't, comfortable sharing it, or they haven't shared it before, but it could be because those questions aren't being asked. And I think that because it's such a delicate subject, that a lot of times we don't ask those tough questions because we'd rather not know the answer, because then we can claim, I didn't know, I have no culpability because I wasn't aware. And as Rotarians in general, that does not meet the four-way test. And so it falls to us to observe and act. And so by doing so, we set the example for the leadership of each of those clubs to also observe and act if we see something that's not happening that's right. And so I have some notes that I've been, wow, I was sent our educational development leader, Dr. DJ. She's brilliant. She's here as an AG today, excited and ready to learn, because even though she's taught us everything we know, she is now going to be an AG, so she's here to learn, which is so Rotary. I mean, that's just the most Rotary thing ever. Regardless, she sent me a lot of incredible notes to help me get through this presentation. And along with that, and some of the stuff that Pat and I and Sheila have discussed in recent months, working up towards all of these training sessions that we were planning, I think I have a good bit of information to hand you in the short amount of time we have. So we're just going to dive right in, and any questions you have, put them in the chat. I'll see them. I've got the chat screen up right next to the screen, and we'll just kill it. So the first thing is, and I have this highlighted everywhere because this is not something that we normally think of, nor, but we should. This should be at the top of our list. We need to make sure that every single club, their meeting locations are Americans with Disabilities Act compliant. There needs to be access to every location where there is a Rotary meeting. Every single club in this district needs to have an ADA compliant meeting place. If they don't, they have to change. Or the location where they meet, you know, maybe that could be a service project they could do. Oh, you need a handicap ramp? We can do that for you. We're Rotarians. Let's have a fundraiser. So whatever you need to do to make that happen, the locations need to be ADA compliant. And that's a real quick and easy question to ask all of your club presidents or your membership, I think, person would be able to help answer that question. Because again, I'll reiterate what everyone says. Let's not keep every single thing onto the presidents. Let's consider what other club leader could give us the answer to that question or help us get through this. Because that also builds that relationship with the club, so that we're not only dealing with the presidents or the PEs, we're interacting with membership, we're interacting with the youth protection leadership. So that's also, you know, something that you need to keep in mind. Who else can handle this? And if you're not sure, call me, call Pat, call one of us and ask, okay, who might be better than the club president to ask this question of? We'll give you some examples, no problem. Texting is also like the most awesome thing in the world, because you guys can text me a question, and even if I'm in the middle of something else, texting is so easy because I can quickly just answer you, and then you don't have to wait for me to send you an email or call you back. So for quick answers, just text me, and I'll put my phone number in the chat in a bit. So that's the biggest thing, but we also need to make sure that that we're talking to our club presidents about how they can identify any kind of harassment that might be going on, if they have any issues with not complying with any of the diversity rules. We allow literally anyone to be a Rotarian. There is no discrimination allowed whatsoever. So if anyone in any club is saying, we don't want to let this member in because of any other reason that doesn't have to do with professional, you know, some other kind of, you know, a classification, if your club still follows those rules, if it has anything to do with who they are, then they're in, they're allowed in. That's the four-way test. And so I know that clubs have policies and procedures and vetting processes, and all of that is completely a-okay if it does not discriminate at all for any reason. So you can look at the RI policies online. They're very easy to find. And you can look at every single one of them. I also think that you should become familiar with local law as it regards to any kind of harassment or discrimination, because that the protected classes, you know, can fall under law as well as Rotary. If there's any kind of incidents, that kind of thing will be handled at the club level, probably initially, but they're going to come to the AG or the DG if there's any kind of issues. and you need to be prepared on how to tell them how to proceed. But the important thing is you tell the club presidents that if they have anyone come to them with anything that has, if they believe there's been sexual harassment, discrimination of any kind, any inappropriate, untoward behavior during meetings, during interpersonal communications that have to do with Rotary business, they need to react and act, but not in support or to say that they don't believe them, just completely without any kind of opinion. It needs to be handled in the most professional way possible. You don't act aghast and I can't believe that happened, but you also don't say that doesn't sound like something they would do. You just literally say, I need the information, please tell it to me, as you know it to be. And that is it. We don't give opinions. We are not a judge, nor are we a jury, nor are we a detective or a police officer. It is our job to take the information and make a report to whoever is above us. And then it'll continue to the correct, level that it needs to get to before it's handled. But I'm kind of getting into the weeds and I don't want to do that. I'm sure Pat is like, please stop. But I just want to make sure that we're all aware that we do have a responsibility in this, but that we are not supposed to act on it. We don't do, unless there is an urgent situation and there is abuse that is happening currently, then obviously call 911. But if we're making a report, everything needs to be handled in a non-judgmental, non-opinionated way, and everything needs to go straight into a report and straight up to whoever's next in line. So I'm going to get off that subject, but I guess what I want to talk more about is when it comes to youth protection, anti-harassment, and diversity and inclusion, those are all tied in with one another. And you were forwarded some information. Obviously, it's going to be loaded in your resources page, but we want to make sure, and the district is working on our own, we're updating our youth protection policy so that it's clear and abides by all of the new RI regulations, that everything is we're falling into place. So we're working on that. We want for the clubs have to also develop, and they should have, a youth protection policy. If they don't, that's something that they need to develop. That is very important. Every single club needs to have a person that has taken the youth protective services training if they work with any youth at all. And this means if you are working with any kind of an Interact or a Rotaract, well, I guess not Rotaract so much anymore, but Interact, sorry. Any kind of Interact or any other youth groups that you might be working with, Scouts or any other youth, you have to have someone in your club that has that training, and you have to have a youth protection policy so that you're covered and the kids are protected and everything's clear right out in front. So Pat's got a copy of like just a basic guideline that you can use, that you can even fill in and put your club name. So that's going to be attached to the resources pile. And then I think that maybe when we have our discussion time at the end, we could and just let this marinate in your brain, because I'd like to talk about what do you do when you've told all your clubs all the information and you've asked them to do all of these things and they're still not compliant. What do we do then? Okay, so that is going to be our discussion, but I'm going to go ahead and Pat, if that's okay, I believe I've talked long enough. You're
I have
muted.
a question for you, Renee. It's Eileen.
Yes, Eileen.
So our club is considering conceptually picking up an event that we had in the community and was stopped last year. And it would be an Easter egg hunt. And children obviously would be the ones involved in that. So if we are, as a community resource, helping to organize a youth Easter egg hunt, does that throw us into this need for mega forms and security checks, et cetera?
Well, I'll tell you this, the class that is required is brief. I mean, it's not like you have to go to an all-day training. It's something that you sign up for. Pat, you know what? I'm going to back up and let you answer this because you know a lot more about this. You did this. This was your thing.
Okay, Eileen, basically, I would, first of all, does your club have a youth
We
protection,
do.
anti-harassment? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing you would do is remind everybody and give everybody a copy of that to remind them that that's what they need to know. That's number one. Number two, I would strongly suggest, if you don't already, to have several of your members go through the youth protection program, and you can contact Jim Holcomb,
Mhm.
and Jim can help you with that.
Mhm.
Now, the thing that can help you with that compliance is if you have active, not past, active teachers in a school district, whether that is Fairfax County, whether it is private school, but they have to be active teachers. And the reason for that is they have to take
Mhm.
a much more rigorous youth protection
Mhm.
program, and which they do an update on every year. So if you have, like in our club, we have 4 active teachers. That automatically gives us 4 people that have contemporary hands-on expertise. And then they can kind of be the leaders to set up whatever your organization is.
Okay.
They can be sometimes, like with our service things, we have our high school students, sometimes our middle school students. So those teachers act as the gateway registrants
Right.
for the kids. And you should keep a log that shows what children, children come in, their parents register them, so that you're pairing children with parents.
Mhm.
If you have unaccompanied minors at the event, then you really need to find one of those teachers to be that liaison with them, and do use 2.
Mhm.
It can be a teacher and another club member. But with that, you should have a very safe program.
I can't remember, do Scoutmasters qualify?
They
Uh,
should.
They
should.
can. We do try to, if you have, if they are active,
Mhm.
if they are constantly being reviewed and taking the course, yes.
Okay.
If they are retired, no.
No.
Okay, thank you.
They would
And
have
I-
to go back and take another course.
And I will say real quick, that Dr. Jackson had one
Yes.
more little thing that she had given me information suggestion, and I don't want it to pass without telling this. Think proactively about what you can do to help your people create environments where everyone feels respected, safe, and included, students or adults. And this is the kicker. Consider a presentation with club presidents at the beginning of the year, and they might use your model to be, proactive at their club assembly. And they might include a message with the club materials and everything that you're about to look at in the resource section, and that'll align their club and your area with RI and district policies. So I think that's a brilliant idea. And so I want to make sure I said that.
Right. And I guess my last comment on this, and it is one that we do need to talk about. I've had a lot of people, in fact, we had this last year at CPEX, but we're Rotarians. This doesn't happen.
Mm.
I hate to tell you, it does. And has in this district. Now, is it the exception? Absolutely, thank God. But there's 2 philosophies I have in life, and the statistics bear it out. Where there's money, there's potential for problem. Where there's children, there's potential for problems.
Mhm.
And you have to go with the statistics. But and again, when you're talking to either your club or your clubs, and we're going to update and make the information better and give that to you, so you can hand a club a solidified policy example for them to adopt. They really need to adopt this, more so that they can show they have been proactive.
Yes, very important.
If you have no policy, if you go in there blind, you've got nobody trained, and you're part of an organization that is telling you in writing vis-a-vis the organization and their insurance program that you need to have these things and you don't, you've just given away a huge portion of your defense.
Yep.
So, you know, in 90% of the cases, everything's fine. But it has happened with Rotarians. It has happened in this district. It has happened in our clubs. So this is why they need to be conscious of it. And not having a policy does not mean they're not liable. They're more liable. So that probably will be the naughtiest conversation I have with clubs, only because, and as I said to my own club in the very beginning, this is 10 years ago when we started this, I said, I understand that. And I know it's aggravating to those who genuinely not just believe in, but live the ethos of Rotary. I get that. I totally get that. But I also understand the statistics, and we're here to protect people, and that's what it's about. Does that answer your question pretty thoroughly, Eileen?
Yes, my follow-up question is, you're referring to policies and they are going to be in the resource center.
Yes.
So I'd like to get a copy of those, and I'd also like to suggest that Renee or whomever is going to be spokesman for this be invited to speak at all of our clubs. I'm pushing for people from the district leadership to come in and once a month, maybe talk about Rotary in various aspects.
And we can do that. You know, Sheila, Renee, and I do a tag team routine.
Yeah,
And,
we're happy to help.
And certainly Dr. Deb, DJ, and the four of us really work as a cohesive team, and Sandy is your advisor and has certainly, as you've seen, outlined. So, and Rich is part of the team as well. So you've got a lot of people upon which you can rely.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any other questions? I did get an email from Enola, and she got, I don't know if you know, she works for a bank and a commercial bank, and they came in at the last minute. So they're working through some issues. One of the things Enola was going to talk about, and this is also, some of you may have experience with this and some of you may not. But we do have this concept that's been around Rotary for a while, but it's called the Satellite Club. And some of our clubs have satellites, and most of our clubs do not as yet. But one of the things, and of course, Enola's club, that's West Springfield, was actually one of the very first clubs, I think the first club in the district to create a satellite club. They called it the Nexus because they used it as a way of attracting young professionals to their club. And the thing that she was going to speak to is that, you know, dealing with the board and the leadership of a traditional club is one thing, and then they sponsor a satellite club that doesn't have a board per se, but they have an organizing committee. There's usually a chair, vice chair, etc. And so they really are, even though they're working together, they really are kind of two different things. As you can imagine, the traditional club is, to its very name, more traditional in their board structure, their meetings, and the satellite club is a little more casual. It's like being at a committee meeting. So how you approach, and you do need to approach both. You do need to make sure that your traditional club leadership knows that you're going to go to the satellite meeting and everything else. And then you can chat with the satellite people and make sure that you're sharing the information back and forth between two forums. Eileen, I know that your club has a satellite structure, and maybe you would like to share some of your thoughts and experiences.
Actually, we do not have a satellite club, but one of the clubs that I will be monitoring is Herndon, and they do have a new satellite club. They officially moved into that category recently, apparently.
Yeah.
So I have to figure out how to get into that group.
Right.
We have a Rotaract club, so that may be what you're thinking of.
Right, I'm sorry. But make sure, and if you have any questions about who the satellites are or not, obviously we can be resources. The other resource that's always good is A, the membership committee, and B, Jim Holcomb. Because he's with the whole new Gen Youth Services, everything else, and he has a very good handle on that. And that will give you kind of those things. Probably the biggest one, and that has been very successful, has been the Satellite Club at Rappahannock Fredericksburg Rotary. And that has really been terrific. Danelle, who is their chair, isn't she? Yeah, she's their chair, very active. And this year, when we did pre-pets and when we did CPETs, we invited the chairs from those satellite clubs to also participate in the pre-pets and the CPETs programs. So they've got a lot of good ideas, and an interesting statistic that I'd like to share about membership, because I did the analysis both for Rotary and specifically for our district. And some clubs who have difficulty changing will say to me, oh, we're making these changes for all those young people, and then they just leave. So why do we have to make the change? Well, here's the interesting statistic. Over a 5-year period, Rotary and our district follows the pattern. The average young person, i.e. 38 or under, when they are a new member, we lose them potentially 24 to 36 months after joining. However, once they are 40, all the way through their 60s, we lose new members in those age brackets in 12 to 18 months.
Whoa.
Now, you say, why? Well, the reason for that is young people are enthusiastic. Young people have ideas, and they will tell you if they think something could be improved. And more importantly, they will be willing to work with you to make we could work together and we could make these changes. And they will understand it will take a little bit of time for that to happen. By the time you are 40 and over, you got places to go, people to see, and things to do. And the number one reason for these people leaving in that short period of time is, quote unquote, not as advertised. They have no interest in changing you. If it isn't what A, you told them about, or B, they find other issues, they're gone because they got choices. And the things that, if you will, annoy them are all the same things that you may hear from young people over the long term. For example, oh, we don't have to change our website or update our Facebook page. You know, nobody really does that. That's the number one complaint from the 40 and above. I don't know when the meetings are. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know who to call. I don't have time for this. So the fact of the matter is, we are not changing the essence of Rotary. We are not changing the ethos of Rotary. We are not changing what Rotary, the effect of Rotary. We are changing some of our practices. And guess what? We change habits and practices and everything in our lives every single year. So why should there be such a surprise that you would do that in Rotary? And they can have fun doing it. Okay, so I think that, you know, helping clubs, again, going back to an earlier conversation we had this evening, helping clubs open their minds to see beyond what they know. And Sandy made an excellent comment earlier. In giving, you have to give more assistance to your kind of clubs that are not doing so well, and they know they're not doing so well. They do know they're not doing so well. They won't admit it. They don't want to say it. But the principal reason for that is most people only know what they've done and only know how to do what they've done. So part of your job as AG is to help them see the framework and see potential solutions beyond what they've always done. And that all of a sudden gives them, oh, new ideas. And oh, that might work. And then that engenders a conversation where they can build on one another.
And Pat, if I could just
Please,
reiterate
Sandy.
there, because that is so true. And if you can, as an AG, if you can get your area clubs together, and you know, of course, which club is weak, probably everybody else does too, but it's a way to bring them together and compliment all the clubs. Don't forget to always compliment, but to say we're here to help each other, we're here to share ideas, and to kind of put an agenda together in advance so that you're talking with the clubs that are doing exceptionally well, and saying, well, maybe you could, what idea would you like to share first? And I'd like to call on you first to get the ball rolling, or something like that. And have them share without looking down their nose at the clubs that are not doing so well.
Right.
And anytime you can do that, so that, because we're Rotarians and we hold hands and we, you know, sing happy thoughts and are we having fun, or we are having fun, but at the same time we want to help those that are not doing well, but you can't put them down, because if you do, they get mad and then they won't come back, or they'll say, I'm not going to work with you anymore because you've said that I didn't do things right, or whatever. So that it's a good idea, Pat, to focus on them and to try to pull them in with the other clubs.
And Paula, yeah, thank you, Sandy. And Paula, you had that experience with your clubs where I remember one time I came in and they were all chatting and they sort of all had different problems, but everybody had a suggestion for the other person.
Yep.
Yeah. You mean in the when we met in the library?
Right.
Yeah. That was really good. And unfortunately, you know, we had COVID not too long after that, so we haven't been able to get together. But I like your idea of just getting everybody together again and talking, especially after COVID, and see how they're all, you know, what ideas they have.
Right. And one of the things that I did say to the PEs, and we'll talk about more of this next week, but I want them and you to have July to rediscover. Okay, a lot has changed in members' lives. So it's not like, oh, all of a sudden, just pretend. I don't know that this is going to happen. We don't know that we're going to be able to meet in July, but let's just pretend they could. You know, even if they can't, They need to rediscover, how is it going? What's going on? You have to have a little bit of a gauge of where people feel their enthusiasm or their willingness to engage in is, and they've got to take that temperature. Now, some people have said to me, well, I've talked to half the club and half of those people are saying, I don't really feel like getting, too involved and blah, blah, blah. And they feel deflated. Change is all about finding your nucleus. Okay. So let's say we have 30 members in the club, and the club president, the immediate past, and the president-elect, they form a team, and they're going to split the club up, and each of them is going to talk to 10 and make sure you got the same set of questions. No more than 5, no more than 5, and have a conversation. And then you're going to come back and discuss that. You want to find the 10 that are saying, I really can't wait to get back together. I really want to see everybody. I'm looking forward to getting involved. Those are the 10 you're going to build your redevelopment program on, okay? And once that leadership group gets those 10, you start doing that plan and they start getting involved, little by little. All of a sudden 5 more join, another 5 join. By the time you're, in April, they're all together, everybody's back on the swing. So please help your leaders understand, don't be discouraged if it doesn't seem like everybody's rip-roaring to go, okay? That seldom happens. So it's finding that nucleus with which you can begin that road forward. Find out and also work together to find out, how is your community changed? Stores that are gone, are there new stores coming in? Where have the people that used to work in this building, are they working from home? Did they relocate? So you can kind of have that month also for detective work, if you will, within the community to reacquaint yourself in the community. Who's moved out, who's moved in. That realtors and bankers are the best people in the world for knowing that. The insurance people will know third, but but having that and understanding how that's changed. Talking to your school administrators, bringing them in. What are they concerned about? For example, and I think that we will see some examples of this in each of our communities. There are some families that were headed by, a single parent. That parent may have contracted COVID. That parent may have passed away. And those children may not have other relatives. And maybe they were new in town, maybe they keep to themselves, whatever the deal is, but they are finding right now children who are not in school. And when they go track some of these children down, they're basically out on the street because the one parent that was the anchor in their life passed away from COVID and they have nowhere to go. Some of them are living on the street. Some of them are still in a house that maybe has been paid off for, or they were living with a grandparent who conducted COVID. And so these are the kinds of things that you've got to reacquaint yourself with your club and with your community. And then together you can begin to say, what kinds of needs? Maybe the needs have changed in your community. I remember Carl Braun from the Matthews Club last year when I was speaking with him, and he says, Pat, I really did do that kind of assessment, and I found that we were doing a lot of programs for youth. And he said, well, the youth no longer really exists in our community. We're now a big retirement community. So we've got to redirect and redesign, not drop the youth thing altogether, but we've got to start looking at other types of programs for, in essence, a retirement community. So these are the kinds of things that you can help your club leadership appreciate, help guide them into these, and they're going to be stronger clubs for it. I kiddingly say, and I will end with this, my job as district governor next year is to get our Rotarians and our clubs off the couch, right? Get them moving, get them to lose that 15 COVID pounds so that by, and you're part of that health team. And you all as AGs are in essence the GP out there, because you're the lead to get these clubs moving so that hopefully by spring, they're going to be back in the groove and things are really going to start, moving for them. And then Sheila and Renee are going to have terrific years, but you will have learned a tremendous amount, and also know that when we asked you to serve, in this role, that was a decision that was made with Sheila and with Renee. So this is not Pat deciding, and then Sheila and Renee, or Sheila's going to decide something else than Renee. Will there be changes and additions? Sure. But we're trying to all work off the same plan and give that same foundation, just as we're following the 5 points of life from Jonathan, and certainly carrying forward the goals that Harry set. So,
And there's resources. Rotary has a lot of them, and they're there for you, and they really enjoy helping. I mean, you can go as far away as California and get somebody to help if you need it. So we know people all over the place. So if you need something and we can't take care of it for you, we know somebody that can, don't we, Pat?
absolutely.
So, it's wonderful. Can I just say one thing, please?
Yes, please.
I forgot to mention the liability insurance. And all the current club presidents received an email about the liability insurance. And of course, the current policy is up as of June 30. And then July 1, there'll be a new policy. And it doesn't cover COVID, as you know, but I just wanted to remind you all that it will be coming out. It does cover not only the clubs, but it covers the directors and the officers and so forth of the clubs. So just be on the lookout for that and remind your clubs about that.
Right. And additionally, we will have a meeting of all the district appointees and you all, so that everybody gets to meet one another. Among those people, we do have an insurance representative. He is coming from the Vienna Club. Bob is a longtime insurance expert in the commercial area. So he will be kind of the place that people can go and ask questions. The policy really never covered diseases and everything else. So last year, it really was not a coverage change. It was to make it eminently clear to clubs that losses that might ensue from COVID exposures are not covered, will not be covered, cannot be covered. That coverage cannot be secured anywhere in the world, no matter where you are. There is no liability policy that provides it. The only place it is covered is in the United States under the workers' compensation, because all 55 US jurisdictions and federal law mandates, they cannot have any exclusion for work comp coverage. So I did have some clubs say, oh, when's that coverage coming back? Oh, once we get a handle on COVID, it's coming back, right? And I go, no, it was never there. It's not coming back. So please understand that. And that's another reason for, even as the state opens and even as Rotary policy may change, and it will change, we are all still responsible for safe reasonable, prudent messages. And just saying, hey, everybody can come in, no problem. That is going to be a problem. Okay. So you have been, thank you for indulging us. I hope next week we have more questions and challenges, but I also want you to share experiences that you've had. You don't have to name clubs. You don't have to tell us it was your club. Okay. But you can do hypothetical discussions. Because I think that is important. That's kind of the way we begin to see how we change our frame and how we might pursue solutions. So with that, thank you so much. Number one, for being Rotarians. Number two, for being in this district. Number three, for being presidents of your club. And number four, thank you, God, you decided to be AGs in this district. Thanks so much. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next
All
week.
right.
Thank you. Bye,
Take care.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Right.
See you later.
Pat, before you roll off, could you give me that statistic again over 5-year period? Could you repeat that?
Over a 5-year period,
Mhm,
people that are 38 and under
mhm.
will, new members, leave within a 24 to 36 month period.
Gotcha. And then 40 and
40
up? Mhm.
through the 60s. Somehow when they're 70, we really hold them on.
Okay. They're retired then.
But they leave, new members leave in a 12 to 18 month period.
12 to 18 month period. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know John is working, and we've been working diligently, on what we're doing to attract new younger members. And that's a nice statistic to be able to share with the club.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody.
All right.